Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Retire Well, the show dedicated to helping you retire well in all aspects of your life. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and joining me in the studio, we have two members of Citizen Advisory Group. We have Kevin Bucher, who is the owner and a financial advisor, and financial advisor Pete Samanok. Kevin, Pete, great to be with you both. How are you this week?
Great to be here. Another great weekend in Northwest Ohio, Southeast Michigan. So great to be here. Looking forward to sharing some good information on today's show.
Absolutely. And Pete, I know that you've been on the show before, but this is my first time to get to host with you. So welcome. It's great to be here with you.
Absolutely. Yep. Back by popular demand, I suppose, right?
A dynamic duo for sure.
Yes. We thought it played well. So.
Well, great. Well, we've got a great show for you at home today. You know, one of the challenges when it comes to retirement planning for folks is often knowing what to do when. And we wanted to put together a very special show for you. It's called Mark Your Calendars, Big Birthdays for Retirement Planning. Now, I think one of the things that's really fun about this show is typically folks don't really look forward to the aging process, right? It can come with an aching back, with some more gray hair, things of that nature. But from a retirement planning perspective, there's actually a lot of exciting things about continuing to grow older. And we're going to be going through some of those key milestones today and what they mean for you. So are you guys ready to get to it?
There's a lot to get to, so let's go.
Yes, perfect.
Yeah, we do have a lot today.
All right. Well, first up, let's start with typically the age when most folks start to think about retirement planning, age 50. Why is age 50 such a milestone birthday in this financial planning space?
Yep, I'll let you take that.
You want me to start on that one?
Yep.
Well, I figured since you were in your 50s, you might be able to.
Yeah, but I've already passed 50, so
you might be able to answer that a little better, but I'll start. So yeah, the big thing at 50, you know, I would start with and say is that everyone thinks about is the catch-up contributions, right? So if you feel like, I like to say this all the time, that if you feel like you're like too late, you know, a lot of people, most people in the retirement planning space don't really get started doing the bulk of their saving and stuff until really their 50s. I would say their mid-40s, their 50s. I think people all the time, you're 40, you feel like you're just behind, right? You're behind, you're never gonna get caught up.
I should have started sooner, right?
You should have started sooner, I'm just too late, right? But the truth is the bulk of people that we see in the space that we work in, you're doing the majority of your saving at 50 and beyond, right? Because, you know, maybe your kids are out of the house, you finish some college stuff.
You might be in your higher earning years.
You're in your higher earning years, right? So they do things called the catch-up contributions. And what that allows you to do is actually start putting more, deferring more into your retirement plans, okay? So whether that be a self-directed IRA, a self-directed Roth IRA, a 401k or a 403b, they allow you to start putting more money so you can kind of accelerate those savings into those plans.
And so that can make a huge difference. I mean, every little bit adds up, especially the jump for 401ks, for example, right?
Yeah, so the basic contribution limit in a 401k plan for a worker is $23,000 a year in 2024. But the catch-up contribution will allow you to dump an extra $7,500 into that plan. And so if you're putting $30,500 a year into your plan, plus whatever that employer matches, you can accumulate some wealth pretty quickly inside of that plan.
Absolutely.
And to Pete's point, people often feel like they made some bad decisions early and they're behind, but you can make a big difference quickly. But I do want to also point out, it's better to start early.
Yes, it's never too early to get started, for sure, right?
It's always better
I
if
wasn't
you can start
suggesting to wait till 50, but
Sure,
yeah, it's really, you can start to really gain some steam and momentum, and that's why the IRS, like Kevin suggested, that's why they do allow you to start putting more money into those plans.
It's almost like they're telling us you kind of need to, right? With what's happening in our economic climate today.
Sure. Yes, and that also, for many people, coincides when their income has increased. So they're going up into higher and higher tax brackets with the higher income. So this does give you the potential to maybe reduce that income even further by putting more money into the tax deductible account. So it's dropping your income and lowering the tax liability at the same time.
Absolutely, win-win in both cases, for sure.
Yes.
Well, next up on our list of big birthdays is actually a half birthday. And I don't know about you guys, but I know it's funny as a kid, I think a lot of children look forward to turning and saying, oh, I'm 5.5, ooh, I'm 6.5. We kind of stopped celebrating the half birthday at a certain point, right? But at 59.5, big things happen for you. So let's talk about that key milestone.
Yeah, and this one is a big gift. So at 59 and a half, that's when we're first eligible to start taking distributions out of an IRA or an old 401k plan without being subject to the 10% IRS penalty for an early distribution. So that's part one of the significance of 59 and a half, and that's very significant. But the second part of that is most retiree health plans, employer-sponsored health plans, have provisions that when you reach 59 and a half, you're eligible to do something called an in-service rollover of that account. So the significance of that for many people out there is instead of being limited to the investment selection that is inside of that 401k plan, and it's a fairly limited selection, you can now roll funds out of that into an IRA account and have the whole universe of investment insurance products and really start to do personalized financial planning to put yourself in the best position for your retirement.
It gives you more options. It gives you more choice, more control, and the world kind of becomes your oyster, right?
Yes.
Yeah, truly. I mean, that's the big thing, is that really you have all the control at 59 and a half. And, you know, it does surprise me. I've always thought that age was actually a little bit late, you know, that the IRS hasn't moved that back. You know, we've had some of the changes with the Secure Act 2.0. And I always kind of figured they might start to look at that age and move it back to 55, maybe even to 50. But if you've got all your money in an employer plan, like Kevin said, 59 and a half, that's really a gift. It's a gift that you have, and you have to proactively take advantage of that and say, look, now that I'm 59 and a half, and I might be in the last 5, 6, 7 years, while I'm working, I need to look at, should I do an in-service rollover, move that to something where I have more control, I can do maybe some Roth converting, some proactive tax planning, those types of things.
Absolutely.
Well, and really you can start to take some of the market risk off the table at that point. And again, you know, the 401k plans, I'm not knocking the 401k plans.
We need them. They're essential, right?
For sure. But those plans are not tailored to meet the needs of the individuals. It's tailored to the group.
Well, it's a
and to
more
meet the needs
cookie
of the
cutter,
group.
right? It only gives you a certain amount of funds,
Correct,
certain
yes.
amount of options.
So
right?
as we're starting to get closer and closer to retirement and narrowing that window, we really do need to look at personalized financial solutions. So an example of that is some clients that we recently worked with that did have the ability, because of this age 59 and a half being attained, that we were able to take some money that was exposed to market risk and put it into a secure investment for them that also had a lifetime withdrawal benefit tied to it to go along with their Social Security benefit to secure their income that they were looking for in retirement. And it just put a whole lot more certainty around their retirement picture as opposed to being tied to so much of the market volatility and market risk.
And I love that they're able to do that at that age, because I'm guessing they were still planning to work for a few more years. But we can't stress the importance enough of going ahead and putting these pieces into place, having a plan so that when you do stop working, you know where your income's going to come from.
Well, and that's what we're offering for callers from today's show, is a complimentary written financial plan. So having an actual written financial plan is about much more than just having a 401k account statement here or an IRA account statement. It's bringing all the pieces of your retirement puzzle together so that you have a sound investment strategy, lifetime income strategy for retirement, a tax plan, risk strategies around your insurance, and a legacy and estate plan. So for callers from today's show, we're offering a complimentary written financial plan that's going to encompass all of those areas of planning.
Well, I know we have a lot more to get to, but Pete and Kevin, thank you so much. And we're going to continue on this discussion of big birthdays, but this is a great opportunity for you to pick up the phone and call to receive your very own complimentary written financial plan from the team of Citizen Advisory Group. It costs you nothing. All you need to do is call the number you see on the bottom of your screen, 866-630-1675. Or if you have your smartphone handy, you're also welcome to take it out. You can open up that camera app, just point, click, and scan that QR code that you see there down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few short, simple questions, and then a member of the team will reach out to connect with you to schedule your complimentary visit that way as well. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to dive into the decade of your 60s. What key birthdays do you need to be paying attention to there for your retirement planning? Stay with us.
For many people, they're on the hope plan and they're just hopeful that inflation isn't going to continue at a high rate, or they hope that their health's going to play out appropriately. And the reality is we don't know. But when we build a financial plan that kind of encompasses all of these areas.
Having an investment strategy that syncs up well with your retirement planning strategy, a tax strategy, risk management strategies, and then legacy and estate planning.
It just allows people to be free and go live.
Whether you have someone that's helping you with your investments and maybe a totally different person that's helping you with your taxes and insurance, you have a disjointed plan, and when you have a disjointed plan, there's cracks in the plan.
And we have experts in each of these different areas, and when you're doing it together in a cohesive plan, you stop money slipping through the cracks.
We recognize that a successful retirement really has to go beyond just the financial services work we do.
But we also have developed what we call Retire Well, which is our wellness program for clients.
It has to include some social engagement and social connection.
And so we provide opportunities to get involved and get engaged in the community, whether that's an educational event or a walk at our wonderful Toledo Zoo.
We are a family business, and as we bring in new clients to our firm, they become part of our family. So family is big to us, and we treat our clients as if they're part of that family.
Welcome back to Retire Well, brought to you by the team of Citizen Advisory Group. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with both Kevin Pucher and Pete Samanok. We are talking today about big birthdays as it relates to your retirement planning. And in that last segment, we covered the decade of the 50s. A lot goes on in the decade of the 60s. So moving on our list of important birthdays, next up on the list is age 62. What happens at this big birthday?
Yeah, so 62, 60s is kind of crunch time, right? I do think 50s, really, just to emphasize on our last segment, 50s is your hot spot. That's really where you need to start buckling down and getting ready. But 60s, it's like go time, right? It's like time to actually go at 60 and say, okay, do we have all these things in place? And really what happens at 62, well, most people would know, is that's when you're first eligible for Social Security. Okay, when you turn 62 in 1 month. And, Social Security is the main cornerstone of your retirement, right? The bulk of people in the United States, the main cornerstone of your retirement is Social Security. So that is a decision that has to be made correctly, right? We cannot do that incorrectly. We can't make a mistake with it. So, I don't think that the blanket advice of taking Social Security at 62, that's unique to every single person.
Right, well, because there's so many options, we're going to talk through this.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, what a lot of people don't realize, if you go ahead and claim at 62, what does that do to your benefit?
Yeah, so your benefit at 62, you're taking a reduced benefit. So everyone's got their full retirement age, and I think we might touch on that in a little bit, okay? But for anyone that's 1960 and past at this point, your full retirement age is 67. So what that means to you is that that's when we can start to take our full benefit without any reductions in it. But if we take it at 62, 63, anywhere in between there, we are accepting a reduced benefit for the rest of our life. And the beauty about Social Security, why it's such a powerful resource, and why it typically does make sense for one person in your household to delay, maybe not both people, but it does typically make sense for one person to delay, is because it's a growing, inflating, guaranteed source of income that we can't outlive. So it's super important to make sure that decision is made correctly.
Exactly, and so many factors go into that. We could do an entire show just on this
really
important subject, right?
Yes, no doubt.
Well, and the thing I think about Social Security, to emphasize that point, is there's so many different options as far as when you can start your benefit. And the right thing for you to do is not going to be the same thing as the right thing for your neighbor or your brother that filed for his benefits before you.
Yep.
There's going to be a specific strategy for you that makes the most sense. But we can't really make that decision isolated from all of our other retirement resources. So, you kind of look at all these pieces, and we mentioned this written financial plan that we're offering for callers from today's show. Well, Social Security is just one of those pieces. And when you pick up a piece to a puzzle, and you just look at that one piece, you you have no idea what that puzzle is going to look like. It's only when you start to bring the pieces of that puzzle together does that image take shape. So Social Security has to be considered within the context of the overall financial plan so that you do make the right decision for you and your family.
Exactly, because nothing's more tragic when someone doesn't know all the different variables and know all these pieces, how they fit together. You go ahead and claim maybe earlier than you should, and then you're locked in at that lower amount for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and typically I would say if you're getting advice from somebody, I mean, Social Security is not going to give you advice on Social Security.
Well, they're not allowed to.
They're not allowed to, right? And that's a big misconception. So Social Security is not going to tell you when you should take Social Security and why you should take it. And they're not going to teach you about survivor benefits and what happens to your spouse's benefit if you pass away. And if your spouse passes away, what benefit do you get to keep? How does it grow, right? They're not going to give any of that.
And the potential tax implications, or if you're still working, you might have to give some of your benefit back.
Correct, yep, right.
Yeah, so it is one of the bigger decisions that comes along with the retirement process as far as when and how you take your Social Security in coordination with your spouse.
Right.
So it's oftentimes overlooked, and oftentimes advisors don't like to get involved in making recommendations in that space. But as a firm, we just are very committed to helping people make the best decisions possible for them when it comes to that Social Security.
Right.
And I think it's the biggest choice that you have. I think it is the number one most important choice for retirees.
Absolutely.
You know, our
Well,
client
and
base.
I was going to add, you all are fiduciaries. You have that legal obligation to always serve your client's best interest. All three of us at this desk know that you can't afford to look at any of these decisions in isolation. You have to see how all these things are going to affect each other.
Yes, because there's consequences to all of these things.
Absolutely.
So we could, as you mentioned, we could do a whole show, and we've done a whole show. So if you want to see some of the whole shows we've done on Social Security, check out our library on our website.
And a quick point to the fiduciary thing, and I know we want to wrap this segment up a little bit, but you know, clients are always a little bit surprised. I had a client specifically tell me that, you know, he was surprised that we were recommending he delay his Social Security because he was like, well, don't you get paid on that money? So I was recommending he take more withdrawals from his portfolio and just use some of the money that he's saved to allow his Social Security to cook a little bit and grow. And he actually made the comment, he was surprised. He said, I figured you guys would want me to take Social Security so I don't have to take that money. And the reality is that just wasn't in his best interest, right? So it wasn't our advice.
Well, real quick before we move on to the next birthday, Kevin, you mentioned the website. So where can folks go to be able to watch previous episodes?
So citizenadvisory.com, there is a link there to get you to the past shows. So the whole library is there. So if any of these topics you want more information, there are whole shows on a lot of these topics that we're going to lightly touch on today.
For sure. Well, let's move along on our list. The next big birthday in the decade of your 60s is age 65. And with that comes a very important word, the M word, which is?
Oh, it's Medicare.
Medicare, yes.
Yes, it has a capital M.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think the interesting thing about Medicare is a lot of times people are basing their retirement decision around the health insurance. So, you know, oftentimes we are getting our health insurance coverage provided by the employer. So if we retire pre-65, that's that little bit of a health insurance gap. Now that can be filled in today's world through the Affordable Care Act plans. But a lot of times people are just thinking that they have to work until 65 in order to get to the Medicare eligibility. But there's a lot of confusion around Medicare because there's all of these different parts. And similar to Social Security, the right thing for you to do in regards to the Medicare world is very specific to what your needs are from healthcare, the prescriptions you might be taking, the hospitals and doctors you prefer. So you really do have to make the right decision. And then that's something that needs to be reviewed on an annual basis. So they give us this gift of the annual enrollment period that allows us to review our plans. So it's important that you do that. Because if we can stay in the right plans through retirement, it's very likely that you'll save tens of thousands of dollars in insurance cost by having the right plans.
And I so appreciate that you and the team of Citizen Advisory Group are willing to have the Medicare conversation, to have the Social Security conversation, because a lot of firms don't touch those two important subjects. But again, how you make a decision in one area of your financial life can and will affect all the others. You have to look at all these things together from that comprehensive, holistic perspective. And so I love that our viewers and folks that come in to meet with you can be confident that they're going to be able to receive all the aspects of their life under one roof, so to speak, right? From a financial planning perspective.
Yes. So it's this whole checklist of things that have to be coordinated and fit together, covering the 5 areas of financial planning, which is your investment strategy, your income strategy, your tax strategy, your insurance strategy, and then ultimately the legacy and estate plan to make sure that you have all of your pieces in place. So there is a lot that goes into all those pieces. That's what the written financial plan is that we're offering for today's callers. You know, you can't start that planning process until you pick up the phone and make that call to come in and go through these areas and kind of see where we would be able to provide some assistance and get you on a better path for your future.
Wonderful. Kevin, Pete, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, to start your journey and get your complimentary written financial plan. Again, this is for no cost, no charge, no obligation. It's simply an invitation to have a conversation to see how the team of Citizen Advisory Group can help and serve you. So to claim yours, simply call 866-630-1675. Or again, you're also welcome to go ahead and scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. Well, we've made it through the decade of your 50s, the decade of your 60s. When we come back, we're going to be diving into some key birthdays in your 70s. Stay with us.
Whether it's time with your grandkids, travel, or finally doing what you've always wanted, retirement is about having the time to live life on your schedule. At Citizen Advisory Group, we build comprehensive retirement plans customized to your individual goals. Whether you're still preparing, taking your first steps, or have been on the path for years, our trusted and caring professionals are here to help you manage the risks and navigate the challenges on the road to your financial future. Citizen Advisory Group, your retirement journey begins here.
I think we recognize as a firm that that thought of meeting with a financial advisor and discussing your personal finances causes some anxiety.
It can be kind of overwhelming or intimidating for some.
It's similar to the emotions I have about the dentist. I recognize that going to the dentist is really important. I want better dental health. I don't look forward to going to the dentist. But what I have found is it ends up not being as bad as what I thought. I think that relates really well to those emotions that people have about meeting with a financial advisor, that it might cause some anxiety, but it wasn't nearly as bad as you thought. And when it's all said and done, you feel so much more comfortable about the steps you took and the financial security that you're building for yourself.
We have a beautiful home office in Perrysburg that we built with intentionality. We want to try to take down those walls to make it home. When you come into our living room, the fireplace and couches, and when people come in, we want to have that comfort level of family and trust and open communication, just all the things that are important to be successful.
Welcome back to Retire Well, where today we are discussing big birthdays for retirement planning. And before we move on to the decade of our 70s, I want to go back to the decade of our 60s because you said something really insightful during the break, Kevin, and I know our viewers need to hear it.
Yeah, so there's just never enough time to get to everything, right? So I think a really important piece of the 60s that we often see, and everyone's individual situation is different, but we often find that in the 60s is when someone is entering or leaving the workforce and going into retirement. So often what we find is that you have an income stream while you're working that's up here. The income is generally a little bit lower when you enter into retirement. So your tax liability is going to be lower in those initial years of retirement. But we often find that when we get to our later years into the 70s, and something we're going to get to in this segment, that the income jumps back up. So what I'm illustrating here, or trying to illustrate, is that we go from a high income, high tax liability, we end up back in that, but we have this valley in our 60s that opens up the potential for us to start dealing with some of the tax liability in your retirement savings accounts like IRAs and 401ks to do something called Roth conversions while we're in that valley of income at the lower tax rates before our income shoots back up. So I didn't want to miss that in the 60s because reducing the tax liability is a huge part of financial planning and something that we as a firm spend a lot of time on.
And it's so important to do it in your 60s because of this next big birthday that we're going to touch on here in the decade of our 70s. So let's shed some light on what folks need to be prepared for.
Yeah, so the big thing about your 70s is, you know, and honestly, when you're in your 70s, I feel like it's going to sound cheesy to some degree, but it's kind of like your new 60s, right? I mean, people are living longer. We've got plenty of years left. But the big thing in your 70s that everyone's kind of worried about, and there's a lot of misunderstanding around, is the required minimum distribution.
Yes.
Right? So your required minimum distributions used to be age 70 and a half. Okay, so I would say, was that 2020?
Yes.
Pre-2020 was 70 and a half, okay? They moved that to 72.
Right.
And then just a year following that, they moved that to 73.
And in the future, it's going to be 75.
Correct.
So it's always
Yep.
changing.
So
but
what most
right now,
people don't know
73,
that is
yeah.
that in 2033, they are moving that back to 75. And the point that I want to make about required minimum distributions, and that the IRS keeps moving this date back and back and back, is that this is not a gift. It's not a gift for you to keep kicking that tax can down the road. What it is a gift for is for you to start doing some proactive tax planning. Okay, all it's allowing you to do is to have a bigger window where you can start to take advantage of strategies like Roth converting, like getting money out of your pre-tax accounts, and really starting to de-tax your retirement. Is what that gift is. The gift is not that, hey, we're going to let you take money from your IRAs later. Really, all that's doing is condensing that window, right? You're kicking that can down the road,
Yes.
that tax can, and allowing those pre-tax accounts to grow. And now when you're 75, you have to take a higher percentage out. You have more money that you have to take out on. Really, the gift that we're given to move that age back to 73 and 75 is the ability to do proactive tax planning.
And try to mitigate that tax burden ahead of time.
Correct.
Yeah, but to Pete's point, if you don't take advantage of that gift, it actually has the exact opposite effect.
Yep.
Because by raising that retirement age, what they've done is shortened the period of time that you're going to have to withdraw those pre-taxed accounts.
Yep.
So the tax-deferred accounts like the IRAs and the 401ks. So if you wait to start drawing, and they've also moved back how long your heirs have to deal with the tax to a 10-year period. So if you've got a shorter period of time to deal with that taxes, you're going to have to take it out in bigger pieces putting you into higher tax brackets. Higher tax brackets means more taxes that you're paying.
Which means less of your hard-earned money that you get to keep or that you get to pass on to your
family.
beneficiaries.
Correct. Yep, that's the big thing.
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
sure.
Yep.
And RMDs are required. And if you don't take them, or you take them incorrectly, or you take them from the wrong account, guess what? Not only are you going to be hit with the tax, but also an additional 25% penalty from the IRS. So again, another critical financial planning decision that has to be done correctly year after year. And this is what you do for your clients. You stay on top of all that for them, right?
Yeah, it really is looking at all of these pieces and how they fit together. And that is what the written financial plan is going to encompass. So it's going to include Social Security strategies. That's going to be layered into your retirement income plan. It's going to include then a tax overlay over the top of both your income and your investments to try to keep the IRS out of your retirement to the best of your ability. In a perfect world, we would get everyone to the 0% tax and you wouldn't pay any federal income tax, but that is not usually the case. But we want to reduce what that tax liability is so that you keep more of your hard-earned money and more of your family gets that money.
Absolutely.
So that happens through financial planning. And financial planning is just about a lot more than just the investment strategy. And too often, that's what people kind of feel that the advisor job is, but it's really all of these areas that we touched on today through these different milestones.
Exactly, and this is why this is all about retiring well in all aspects of your life, right?
Yes.
Well, Kevin, Pete, thank you so much, and I know you've also put together a very special resource. So in addition to claiming your complimentary written financial plan, you're also going to be able to get this helpful document that's going to go through all the different important birthdays that we've talked about today when you come in for that complimentary meeting. So to claim yours, 866-630-1675. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We look forward to being back with you next week here on Retire Well.